It looks like President Donald Trump has officially caved on the $900 billion stimulus bill, along with the $1.4 trillion omnibus spending bill. Now, this is after, of course, spending the weekend golfing and complaining and, then saying that, oh, well, I want $2,000 stimulus, checks. Well, we all do, really. But the problem is you have Republicans that are saying, no, we don't want those $2,000 stimulus checks. So now there's good news and bad news with this. All right, well, obviously the good news is that people with unemployment benefits that have just run out get a small measure of relief, okay? Yes, it's not very much. It's $300 in additional unemployment benefits until mid-March. So that's not a lot. That's it's still gonna help people, but it's nowhere near exactly what we need. Now, you also have $600 stimulus checks that are supposed to start going out this week, or they say this week, but we know how much of the disaster the first rollout was, and so I wouldn't expect it for at least a couple weeks, personally. But who knows, right? Maybe they will. Maybe they learned their lesson last time, and we'll get those checks out faster. I don't know. Obviously, most of the legislation was geared towards the Paycheck Protection Program. Hopefully, some small businesses will be able to grab some cash before the larger ones swoop in and take the rest of it. But we'll see. Now, the bad news is that it was because of the delay, in which we got no concessions for, by the way. So, okay, if there were a delay and we ended up getting $2,000 stimulus checks, well, that would have been an overall win, right? That would have at least been better than what we have. Instead, we just have the $600, basically no change at all. And so now unemployment has been exhausted, which means that everybody who still has it has to go out and refile, which of course will delay them in getting the checks. And so that could end up taking weeks to receive. And so that's another delay the American people have to suffer, who are already suffering massively. Now, the other thing that I've been harping on the whole time, this whole negotiation, is the fact that this isn't near enough. We need, this is barely survival money. You can't really call it stimulus. It's survival money, and it's barely even survival money. And so you have a situation where you need about $70 billion that's how much we have in back rent. Okay, we need more than $70 billion to address the rent crisis in this country. Well, there was only $25 billion that was allocated to this in this stimulus bill, which means you still have to make up about $45 billion, which not good, right? That's not nearly enough. And the $600 checks, along with the $300 additional unemployment benefits, is not going to solve that massive rent crisis, much less people being backed up on utilities, people not being able to afford food, people not having health care, health insurance during a raging pandemic. And so it is a Band-Aid on a gushing wound. And that's what I've been saying. But nonetheless, it's a tiny little measure of help. But it's just not going to be enough. All right. That said, bad news also in this. It makes unauthorized streaming of copyrighted material a felony. Yes. See, this was a story that I was going to do with Lance of the Serfs, since he is a streamer and would be affected by this. I also do streaming myself, and so I would also possibly be affected by this. And so let me explain that. As TechCrunch reports, the bill includes a proposal from Senator Tom Tillis, a Republican from North Carolina, who has, by the way, received a ton of money from the entertainment industry, that would make illegal streaming for profit a felony, rather than just a misdemeanor, with penalties of up to 10 years in prison. Yikes. Yikes. Wow. Way to stick it to the Twitch streamers? The very powerful Twitch streaming lobby. Shit. That's all I can say. Not good. The bill also includes something called the CASE Act, which creates a new copyright claims board within the U.S. Copyright Office. This system has been compared to a small claims court with the ability to adjudicate copyright claims and order payments of up to $30,000 for anybody who breaks that. I wonder if that court will be biased towards corporations or not. Yes. Very wonder. I wonder. No, we all know. We all know. We all know what's going to happen. But then again, maybe it might not be that bad. I don't know. The Open Internet Intellectual Property nonprofit Public Knowledge released a statement saying that, well, even though there's no need for further criminal penalties of copyright infringement, at least the bill is narrowly tailored and avoids criminalizing users and does not criminalize streamers who may include unlicensed work as part of their streams. Instead, they say it focuses on those who pirate for commercial gain. The problem, again, is that in this legislation, the wording is pretty vague, and so I have a feeling that it could end up possibly harming streamers anyway. So we don't necessarily know. In fact, this is why the ACLU and the Electronic Frontier Foundation said that it will probably or likely have a negative impact on individual internet users. In fact, TechDirt's Mike Masnick argued that it will supercharge copyright trolling exactly at a time when we need to fix the law to have less trolling. But so yeah, more trolling. Great, wonderful, awesome. Expect more. I would say, look out for more DMCA takedowns. And so that's what I'm getting from this. Maybe, again, I might be wrong, but the fact that it's so broad means that we've got to really be careful about this, all right? I've already been hit with copyright, and this is before this bill was passed, okay? So I'd been hit with copyright before on doing segments about 60 minutes. 60 minutes, right? Where they'll sit down with a politician and ask them questions, like, or Betsy DeVos. I was hit with, not DMCA takedowns, but copyright. And so I'm rather concerned about this, not just when it comes to like ads and things like that and making money off videos, which is obviously really important, as well as because, that keeps the channel afloat, but also like the fact that we can't do those segments anymore and talk about things that politicians are actually saying. That said, at least there's C-SPAN, which is always open to use, but just to my fellow streamers, please be careful. This is not good. So now, getting back to the rest of the stimulus bill, what changed Donald Trump's mind on this? I mean, that's a good question, right? Because I thought that he was strong, that he was resolute. He wasn't going to stop until he was going to give Americans $2,000 checks. Well, according to Axios, in the intervening days between Trump's Twitter video and his ultimate decision to sign the package, Trump insiders, including Steve Mnuchin, Kevin McCarthy, and Senator Lindsey Graham, indulged the president's rants, because of course, told him that there was great stuff in the bill, which there really isn't, and gave him wins he could announce, even though there was no changes to the bill. They also, according to Mike Allen of Axios, appealed to his vanity. Ah, yes. That the president's confidence finally convinced him that, quote, he had gotten all there was to get from the negotiations. He added that negotiating with a cranky, stubborn President Trump was like being a hostage negotiator or defusing a bomb. Well, I mean, there you go. And now, here's the other thing. And to be completely fair, right? If you defund the government by not signing a piece of legislation to fund the government, well, then you're going to do harm too during a pandemic. It's already bad enough when the government shuts down in any other normal time. But during a pandemic, well, that's also not good. But at the same time, obviously, and I've been reporting this for a while, the omnibus was filled with garbage. Just nonsensical, unneeded stuff. $500 million to Israel. Now, Israel doesn't need it. They're doing all right. They're big boys. They can stand up for themselves now, okay? They're doing really well. And so, no, we don't need to fund their missile defense systems anymore, okay? We don't need to put more money into the Pentagon. We don't need to do any of that stuff. There's enough. There's enough, right? We also don't need to put in the streamer thing that I mentioned, or a lot of this corporate welfare that was given out. And as I said, the stimulus, again, that stimulus doesn't really stimulate anything. It's a basic survival check. And it's, again, the Band-Aid on the gushing wound, okay? But in the end, of course, Donald Trump didn't really have much of a choice. I mean, they tied stimulus to the omnibus. They tried to package it all in one must-pass thing, and it passed with a veto-proof majority. The next step the House would take is to override a presidential veto. The Senate would do the same thing, and it would just waste time. And so, I mean, that said, like, they, yes, will be coming soon. Is it too little, too late? Obviously. It's like 9 months too late. But at the same time, I mean, again, it will help people. There are people that will benefit from this, normal people, at least, that will keep them afloat for a little while longer. I just, again, it should have been a lot more, should have been a lot sooner, and maybe, I don't know, maybe the House and the Senate can get it together to pass a $2,000 stimulus. I don't know. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share with your friends. You can subscribe and help out the channel by becoming a patron. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, or you can become a channel member as well by hitting the join button below.